The collar that is locked around my neck can never be removed. The collar wasn't given to me by a master as a sign of his dominance over me. In fact, I've been single for a long time. The choice to have it permanently secured without the option to take it off was my own. But I couldn't do it alone. Many years ago, I decided to try to pursue one of my life goals, and that is to become a full time sex slave. I spent years searching for the right person to become my master. People think that subs or slaves have some strange desire to be taken advantage of. In reality, as a slave, you are literally placing your life in the hands of another person, so it's important to choose somebody that you can trust. Eventually, after several years, I found someone with whom I felt was right. We were able to find a way for both of our needs to be met, and we were a good fit. We made a game plan and picked a date a few weeks out so arrangements could be made. When the day arrived, he came to my apartment, we talked for a while, and when we were confident we were making the right decision, we headed to his car and began the journey to his house. I didn't even have to worry about packing up my belongings, because he had a couple of other slaves that he had tasked with that project. We planned to stop at the local hardware store to pick up some last minute supplies, and then when we arrived at his house, we would begin the process of me becoming his official slave. The plan was to lock a collar around my neck and then lock that collar via a long chain to the wall. That would leave me firmly under his control. Of course, I would not always have been chained to the wall, but from that moment forward, I would have been under some form of bondage every moment for the rest of my life. Halfway to his house, all the things that could possibly go wrong kept running through my head. Would I have to restart my life with an eviction on my record because I hadn't given proper notice for leaving my apartment? How would I explain an extended gap in employment to a possible employer? My nerves got the best of me, and I just couldn't take that final step. He brought me back to my house, and we went our separate ways. To this day, not being able to make that final commitment is one of the things I regret the most in life. Fast forward a few years, and I stumble across the blog of a guy who had spent the past several years in a very similar situation to what I had planned to experience. He had spent the past few years locked in a pair of full body shackles that had been welded onto his body. Several years later, and he says he's still very happy with his chains. One day I was talking with a good friend of mine about the whole situation and how I had regretted not following through. I mentioned the blog with the guy that had lived in chains this entire time. I told my friend that I wished that I could have experienced that and that I'll never know now what that would have been like. Had I not backed out of that arrangement, it would have been me that had been locked in chains for all these years. He told me that he had an idea of how I could possibly experience the best of both worlds, and that's where the idea for the collar came about. I could not go through my daily life in a full set of shackles, but I could have a collar that was locked on that would help me to experience at least a part of what I missed out on. So, in short, the reason that I have this collar locked on my neck now is because there was a time where I would have become a full time sex slave, and one of my biggest regrets is backing out. So now I wear this collar every day to remind me to take advantage of opportunities when they come along. In the end, most of our regrets are not the things that we do, but the things that we don't do.